Imagine with me, there's beings who are trapped inside a cave, and they're not able to move to the left or the right or turn around. All they can see is their own shadow reflection on the wall. They've been chained here for all of their lives. There's a bridge behind and a beautiful bright light behind them, but they don't see that bright light. They're trapped in their own shadow play, not able to see anything but their own mind's projection. And just imagine beings like this, stuck like this for eons of time. And then someone takes them to a Unity Church service. And for a moment, the chains that bind us are set free. And they walk out into this glorious light and see a world they've never seen before. See colors they've never experienced before. See a world that was unknown to them before. Imagine now, you are just such a being. And you come back and you tell these beings who are trapped in their own stinking thinking, there's a wonderful way and truth and light that you come from. But they can't hear it. They can't see it. Because their mind is stuck in their own darkened perceptions. However, this doesn't make the light any less real. This is our story. Please put the lights back up again. This is our glory. This is about what we are. This is about you and I chained to our own perceptions, believing that what we're seeing is real, not knowing that there is a light directly behind us that illuminates our thoughts, our words, our deeds, and our habit patterns. God does not judge what you choose to shine your light upon. We are the film through which everything gets projected onto the world that we see. And we have a choice to change our mind about how we see ourselves and see the world. The light of God is all around us and does not judge the choices that we choose to make. It is we who must decide to choose once again. And because you're here at Unity of Wilmington, you're willing to make that kind of shift in your own internal, eternal perception about who you are. You're willing to challenge yourself. You're willing to go beyond the boundaries of what most people aren't yet ready to embrace and hear. We are the ones who are the chosen ones, who are called upon to awaken and bring this good news of great joy into our world, into our consciousness. And so we have teachings like the Bible metaphysically interpreted, like A Course in Miracles, like Jack Kornfield's book, The Path with the Heart, whatever book that you use that help us see the light and not be stuck in our own perceptions. The story for that now is called The Soul of Money from Lynn Twist's book. It's an amazing book. And the reason why we're talking about money is because everyone has a huge charge around money. I have too much. I don't have enough. I wish I had more. I owe so much. Money is a hot button. It's got a big charge. So like everything else in Unity, we don't ignore it. We say, let's enter into what our awareness is about it. Because if we can heal our relationship with a hot button item in our life, it naturally helps us do it with other things as well. So in her book, she's talking about the beings who are chained in the imprisonment of scarcity. And she talked about the toxic myths of scarcity. The one we talked about first, which springs forth from the wellspring of love and becomes our thought, our word, our deed, and our habit pattern. The first one is the toxic myth of not enough. It ties a knot in the hose of our energy connected to spirit. That's the first one. I am not enough. Everybody you know suffers from some form of feeling like they're not good enough. Please understand that's everyone's plight here. You don't ever totally get rid of that, but you do loosen it up a little bit. The second toxic myth, if I'm not enough, well then what I need is more. I need more. More. I need more. And if what you have already isn't enough, why would you want more of it? It'll just be more of the same, right? That's what happens to us. We want more, but what we want more of is just more shadow play on the cave of our own ridiculous consciousness. And the third one that she talks about, and this is the one that really can be the most subtle, this one we stay stuck in and stay chained with, is the idea, well, that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Well, get over it. Get out of Unity Church. It's a cult. Stay away from those people. This is the way it is. We're stuck with it. It's not the way it is. It's the way we believe it to be. And that's why it is the way it is. We can change how we look at the world. The one called "it is the way it is" leaves us feeling fragmented and unpowerful. It leaves us feeling in a state of resignation, resigning ourselves to, this is the way it's always been. So I better grab all the gusto I can and get more for me, because this is just the way it is. It isn't the way it is. It's the way we've collectively believed it to be. That's why we keep experiencing it. No God from the sky is going to come and change our choices. We continually get to make them here. It is the way it is because I believe it's the way it is. And the truth is, it's only that way because I keep believing it. Once you withdraw your belief from it, light begins to seep into your being. And you begin to feel more powerful. You begin to know how much of a difference your shift in consciousness and perception can make, not just for yourself, but for other beings. You become a doorway and a light for others to step into these magnificent teachings. Please don't take your assignment lightly. Your willingness to do this work is amazing. That your being here is very, 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 very powerful. And then she goes on to say a lot of it is what it is that's stuck in us, that keeps us repeating the same thing over and over again, is what she calls life sentences. Those are the things that you got handed when your neural pathways were very young and impressionable. Life sentences about certain ways of seeing things in the world, a certain kind of perception that you then got stuck with. You're not stuck with it, but it's there, and you need to be aware of what that life sentence is, particularly as it relates to money. She talks about her own work. What did her grandma say to her? Marry rich, the love will follow. Money's no object. Anyone know that one? If you've got to look at the price, you can't afford it. You know, those are ones that were neurologically placed very early. My neurological life sentence was, only grandson. Ooh, only grandson. Dora May Company, family wealth, big inheritance. Ooh, whoa. That was a big one for me. That was a life sentence that sentenced me to staring at the wall of waiting for my inheritance to come from one source. It took a huge amount of energy and momentum to break through that life sense of the only grandson, of entitlement. I'm entitled to this. So I started going to Unity, and I started to go to Science of Mind. And I practiced Science of Mind 1, 2, and 3. I went to Edwin Gaines' prosperity class, but I was still honoring my life sentence. That, yeah, it would come from God, but it would mostly come from that check in the mail, you know, from Papa, from Daddy, from one source of being. And so when we decided to leave the family business behind in 1975, we went off to go join a commune, Stephen Gaskin's farm in Summertown, Tennessee. We lived there in 1976. It was the largest intentional spiritual community in the world at that time. And we were there for 6 months and began to break up that life sentence. It wasn't gone, it was still there, but began to break it up. We lived in community for a while. We moved about every 8 or 9 months. And I remember my dad saying, I'm so tired of erasing your name in the address book from where you moved to next. Now you're here, now you're there, now you're here, now you're there. So when we ended up in Boulder, Colorado, I found my life work. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a Unity minister. That was what I was here to do. And so I was still stuck in my life sentence, because I called my dad on the phone. I remember the conversation very well. He said, where have you moved to, and is she pregnant again? Was the first thing he said. And I said, yes, we have. We're in Boulder. And he goes, and what are you doing for work now, this time? I'm a trash truck driver for Western Disposal. He said, oh, that just makes me so proud of you. When I sit down in Wall Street with my friends at the Woolworth Company and Kmart, we talk about our sons and how they're doing. My son's a trash truck driver. He has hair down to the floor, and he can stick his leg around the back of his neck and sniff his toenail. I'm so proud of my son. And so, so I said, guess what, Dad? I'm going to be a Unity minister. You know Robert Schuller, you like Robert Schuller. He liked Robert Schuller. He watched it every day. He said, yeah, he said, you're so full of BS. If you can get some way for someone to pay you for it, you should make a fortune. And I said, and I want to go to ministerial school and I want you to help me do it and pay for it. Help me pay for it. The time when I really needed it the most. And so he sent me a check with a very nasty, nasty, nasty note that went with it. And I looked at that moment. You know how the moments come to you and you have a choice you can make. And a part of me felt like young Cain with Master Poe. When you can take this pebble from my hand, it will be time for you to leave. Yeah? And I knew it was my time to take my power back. And we sent the check back with a note saying, we're going to do this on our own. And it was the time when we needed the support and the money the most. And we went off into a journey into Unity Village, Missouri with $200 in our pockets, 3 children, 1 with an undiagnosed terminal illness, and no visible means of support at all. But the light began to shine through our willingness to challenge and look at the life sentence of only grandson, my source of supply, comes from one person. We began to open ourselves up to that. And that isn't all that we did. It's not enough just, your book taught me this. It's not enough just to say, well, I'm going to look at the life sentence, I'm aware of it. You need to put new energy in motion. And for us, the new energy that we put in motion was the T word. We began to tie 10% of our gross income to places where we were spiritually nourished. At that point, it was very little money. $5 a week was 10% of what we were making. But we began to do that to break up that old life sentence that we were stuck in. Remember the little prosperity banks? God is my instant, constant, and abundant supply. Ching. We put our quarters in. Our kids love that little bank. What it did was it said, I am willing to no longer be chained to this appearance. And I'm not only willing to see it, I'm willing to do something about it. And getting that grip of money out of your pocket and giving it to the beloved is a huge step in that process. She talks about it in this book, and I need my glasses for this, which are in my coat, which are over here. And I want to read this paragraph to you because I know it'll be familiar to you as well. Maybe those life sentences sound familiar to you. Or maybe you have worked for money most of your life, but have been reluctant to ask for a well-deserved raise, or stayed at a dead-end job rather than investing time and energy in searching for a new one, or getting training for a different kind of work. Maybe you enjoy an inheritance and feel entitled to family wealth, or maybe you feel guilty about it. Maybe you avoid balancing your checkbook or paying your bills because the black and white reality of those numbers say something you don't want to hear. Maybe you're afraid to assert yourself about money in a relationship because you fear the repercussions. Maybe your financial fears keep you from asserting yourself at all. Most of these life sentences around money, which bleed into other situations, have to do with the scarcity principle and our willingness to look at what our life sentence is around money is huge. And I would like us just to consider this week about doing just that.